That brings us to section C of our agenda, and we tonight receive an update on the Natatorium. It looks like Assistant Superintendent Mr. Randy Banks is going to start us off. Thanks, Randy.
Very good. So tonight is the third installment of our construction update, and it may be the smallest project, but it is certainly an exciting component to the entire project overall. My role has been the last several presentations is to specifically talk about how our community and our students will be impacted with the project. So I plan to kick us off this evening with a little on impact, and then I'll let Mike talk about the specifics. This first slide should look familiar to you. It shows the site at Thomas Worthington, and at our last Thomas Worthington presentation, we discussed that area in red. So that's behind the current school. And currently it serves as a cut through. It also serves as parent drop off and pickup. And that's going to be closed all the way to where the baseball field is. You see that kind of that long red area moving to the west. That's going to be closed off. And we discussed that and how that will impact the entire site. We've addressed that loss of staff parking with the orange temporary parking in the front, as well as the parallel parking across the front of the school. And then you'll see that band practice area, which is a huge component that currently is in the back of the school as well. So those things we've addressed in the previous presentations. I would like to draw your attention to the blue section. That is our current student parking lot. And you notice that it's going to be just a little bit smaller with the start of the Natatorium project. That red band at the top will be where they have their construction trailer, and they store construction equipment that is working on the pool. So we're going to lose that part of the parking lot. I'm going to flip to this next slide, and then I'll come back. Whoop. Here we go, this slide. This, I give our construction team a lot of credit because before they made that decision, they actually did some drone counts of student parking. So this slide was taken in November. And we anticipate that the number of students that drive to school increases as the school year progresses because they're getting their driver's license. Parents are getting brave enough to actually hand them the keys, and they're showing up at school. And the other thing we realized about this site is that students are constantly coming and going. So it's an active site. So they've done the counts, and they believe that with the temporary parking up front for staff, recognizing that some of our staff will have to park in this lot, that we can lose those 20 spots to the far left, as well as half of that 41. And they'll take some of that green space there on the far left of that project to set up. So we're comfortable with parking for school. The biggest impact when it comes to parking is for events. And we can't sugarcoat this. If you picture a Friday night football game and you look at that view, you know what it's going to look like. And that's considering people have been able to park behind the school, then they've been able to take advantage of other parking. So that temporary parking in the front will help us, but we are going to have to be creative with how we house our teams. We've talked with Molly about beginning to brainstorm ideas. The one good thing about the site is because we won't have an auditorium, there should be very few evenings where we have competing events on site. So the arts and the music programs won't be having large performances at the same time the athletics are having large events. So we hope to eliminate some of that, but I can't sugarcoat this. For large events, that's the parking is going to be a challenge, and how we communicate with our own fans, our own teams, and our opponent will matter through this next phase. But this is, I just showed this slide to show you that there's actually been some studying done before they came up with this location. If I go back to this picture, I want to point out that the area that they are laying down the equipment is obviously further north. The construction zone is down at the far left corner, which means at certain points during the day, there could be construction traffic from red to red. And that's concerning because that's a student entrance and exit throughout the day. So They have studied student traffic patterns. They're aware of our safety concerns, and they will work around that as best as possible. But there could be a point in day when a piece of equipment is moving from the north to the south that we're going to have to temporarily close that drive for 2-3 minutes for them to go back and forth. So it's important that you know that could happen, but it's also important to know that we've studied that. There's a lot of things that have gone into that decision that doesn't impact other athletics and other activities and kind of keeps it out of the way. So the entire administration of Thomas Worthington was involved in that decision. Go to some of the positive here. We are going to be able to build a pool on site and keep the current pool open. So when we talk about impact, it's important to recognize that a lot of work went into making sure that we didn't disturb the current natatorium, as well as the current pools. If you get too close to some of those outdoor pools and you start digging, there's a chance that some of those could be in danger. So our team feels confident that this location will work and it will allow us to have a pool that is open throughout the season. Again, we've met with them, we've coordinated large events, they're aware of target dates and things that we have to work around. I do want to point out that you see this beautiful tree-lined boulevard. That's been pushed to next summer, so we'll talk about that. But there is some utility work that's going to be done on that front sidewalk of the pool. So there will be a time this summer when that kind of main front entrance of our outdoor pool will be out of commission because they'll be working there. So it's important that we take note of that. Again, we've had good communication with the team at the pool. They're aware of this, and we have their important dates, and our team's aware of that. So I think we're making great progress there. So overall, I think the takeaway when we talk about impact is we have to be safe with construction equipment when students are in session. We have to communicate regarding large events, and we have to recognize that we are building a community asset without losing any of the current assets. And so with that, I'm going to let Mike talk about the details of the pool and some of the amazing things that are going to occur.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, schedules first. This is looking really good in the schedule. You heard Randy say at no point in time will we have the old natatorium offline until the new natatorium is ready. And the good news is the new natatorium is ready in August of 25. And there is on this schedule near the bottom a 2-weekend swim invitational that I double checked with Matt. Absolutely, it'll be open. So we're looking at having a brand new natatorium in place in the fall of 25. So that's just a year project. And again, it is something that sits inside the Thomas Worthington site work and all the work that's happening there. It doesn't extend it. It is exactly this summer through next summer that we'll be seeing that pool construction happen. And then obviously the demolition of the natatorium, the old natatorium, and the installation of the new parking lot will be the last thing that happens by the end of 25. So it's a much easier project and obviously helped tremendously by the fact that the other pool remains active and remains available to swimmers. I grew up as a competitive swimmer, age 8 to age 18. And my history and my high school years were always remembered by the fact that we had to do 5:30 a.m. practices and 9:30 p.m. practices because we didn't have a pool at Talawanda High School. We used Miami's pools, and the only time they let us use them is when nobody else wanted to use them, and that's how I remember it. So it's a wonderful thing that you guys have a pool in your district. I always remembered St. X in Upper Arlington and Canton McKinley as the 3 places that you went for big meets, but this pool now will be up there with any pool in the state of Ohio, and that's fantastic. The one change we made when we went from the existing pool to imagining a budget for a new pool was we assumed we would go to 8 competitive lanes and we would have similar program spaces to the current natatorium, albeit larger for the 8-lane pool. What we ended up with was a 10-lane pool, and I will spend a little time trying to explain that tonight. It provides so much flexibility and so many different kinds of uses and so many supports to so many of the teams that exist in Worthington. and even simultaneous use in some really creative ways. And the coaches had a lot to say in terms of how that worked. I think I speak for them when they are thrilled, imagining going from where they are to where they will be, especially in the time and availability of space in the pool. So this was the first sort of concept image of a 10-lane pool. You can see the first 2 lanes are a little bit compromised, but those are not competitive lanes. There are 8 competitive lanes beyond that first 2. Those first 2 lanes are shallower water. That is for a lot of good reasons. It's for training, it's for warm-up, it's for having swim lessons for kids who are scared of deep water. But the competitive pool is just like Cleveland State was when they first put the first deep pool in Ohio when I was a swimmer. It is 100% deep water. That means the ability to swim fast times and the ability to swim in calm water is tremendous. So we started with the 8 competitive lanes plus 2 practice lanes, got the 10-lane pool going. Let's look a little bit at the site plan. I'll come back to the rest of the pool. And Randy talked about this too, we tucked the new pool up against the bottom of the natatorium and up against the side of the outdoor pools. And again, Russilli, to their credit, they went out and they looked at different construction methods for making that a safe construction. We were going to have to put piles in to make sure that neither of the pools sort of drained themselves into our excavation. We moved the natatorium further away. Not because we couldn't do the piles, but because we had the space to do it, and it gave us a lot more safety and a lot less construction cost. So there was a big savings that they brought to the table by giving ourselves a little space from the existing natatorium and a little space from the outdoor pools. The future of that site is a lot more flexible now because that decision was made and influenced by Russilli. So the building, as we know, we're in Worthington. We're in the ADRB's mix. We just had a complicated, review and approval of the complicated design of Thomas, and we just kept going on kind of the same note, same brick, same detail, same sort of architectural style, and we worked through several iterations with the design review board. And Nathan, who did both designs, just finally found the sweet spot with them. And again, fantastic design. And in fact, for all the impression of the new Thomas, the first thing you're going to see as you drive off 315 is going to be the natatorium. Now, Nathan's image is pretty creative there. You can just see the cupola of the high school as you come up to this point. But the first building in Worthington schools that you're going to see off on 161 is going to be the natatorium. And then, obviously the icing on the cake with Thomas. The north side of the building is the public entrance. It's the new parking lot. It has stairs that access the upper level deck of the upper pools. And there isn't even an access door to the student training room that might get used depending on how people want to control the access to this building. There's daylight throughout. There's daylight in the training room. There's daylight in the pool. But we have, I think, a very pleasant design and a very big upgrade from the sort of pre-engineered metal building that the original natatorium was made of. This is up at the upper pool level. Again, there's handicap access up at this level. We thought we could avoid an elevator by having this upper access and the lower access. They were distant enough that it became impractical to do that. So we ended up with a lift in the building, so we have full handicap access throughout, even though we have site access at both levels. So here's the plan. Obviously, 80% of the square footage of this program is pool and pool deck. Something that we started with was a goal of having a 20-foot pool deck around this pool. We still have 20 foot at the ends of the lanes, and we have about 18 feet on the sides and 8 feet on the south end. We were struggling with budget, and we made some balances, but we had a lot of input from the coaches and a lot of input from Kurt Carmen at Swim Inc., who gave us a lot of ideas in terms of how to balance our values and how to balance our choices in terms of staying within budget and getting the most flexible pool. We have walk-through locker rooms that feed both the student training room and the pool. We have separate storage areas for Swim Inc. and this district for team storage. They share storage now, and it gets confused and it gets lost. And so we gave each organization their own storage. There's a large conference room. In fact, I can blow this up. There's a large conference room for meet management. There's a separate room for pool management. There are public restrooms and public unisex restrooms. And as I said, we ended up with a lift that gets us up to the spectator level. The spectator level has 368 seats. That's really similar to the new Upper Arlington pool, if you've seen it. A lot of the design, we made sure we were thinking about the things they were thinking about. There are also 100 seats like there are today at the pool in tip and roll bleachers for the participants in the events. But it's going to be easy to keep participants and spectators separate, given the design of the upper mezzanine as the view. So as you walk in, pretty simple building, nothing flashy. Obviously identifying who we are. This is the first all Worthington project I've worked on. So I wore my Thomas tie and my Kilborn shirt tonight because it is both. And this is the shot. The pool is 100 feet by 75 feet. It's massive, and it's great. And the flexibility that I learned about, and I was a swimmer, but the flexibility I learned about from Kurt and others is the depth profiles of the pool. Again, as I said, we have an 8-lane competitive pool in all deep water. We have an 8-lane parallel water polo course, all in deep water. That's something you've never had in this district. We have 2 lanes that are in transitional depth or low depth, and that is for training and warm-ups. We have diving that's in deep water. And so we've given ourselves all kinds of flexibility in terms of how to use this pool, given the additional surface. The real creativity here is the depth profiles. We have a lot of deep water here. And again, we worked really hard to figure out how to keep that in budget. This is just a line I was playing around with the coaches. You can have 5 lanes of swim practice, a half course of water polo, and diving practice at the same time. There's nothing like that in the current pool. You can't do any of those things simultaneously. And so this doesn't mean this is how you will do it. You will probably have water polo practice in a full course. You'll probably have swim practice in a full course. But in a pinch, there will be opportunities for you to be able to do all these things. Even actually carve off 2 lanes to have swim lessons going on, or community rec lanes going on while there's deep water swimming for the varsity teams. So very flexible pool, really good outcome. A lot of people, a lot of smart people had a lot of influence on this. It wasn't us, the architects, it was all the users of pools. Just a few more shots. You can see from the end of the pool more by the diving well. There's a huge integrated time system with the pool and a huge video display board. Again, everything that you see at Upper Arlington, you will see it at Worthington. And so we're happy about that. There's a crow's nest that's up in the top above our heads here. You can see this is from the competition end where the starting blocks are. This is from the end of the pool where the spectator or the participants sit at the low end. And this is up at spectator level and up at the crow's nest level where you can see the starting blocks and run the timing system from up here. Last thing is very interesting. I remember this when I was growing up. No lights over the water. It's bad for backstrokers, which I was one of, but it was also hard to change light bulbs if you do it from a boat. So this is all lit from uplights that go around the perimeter of the pool and create a very even foot candle, lighting level around the entire pool, as you can see. Very calm, very even, and it's very good for swimming, especially for backstrokers and for people who have to change light bulbs. So I'll stop there and let you guys have some questions.